For the third question, the sequence will be Mr. Walberg, Mr. Rooney, Mr. Carlson. I got myself back on track. For want of constitutional respect by many of our elected servants, our government structures and legislative processes have recently been badly fractured. Please tell us how you plan to play a leadership role in correcting the damage done to our country by recent administrations and Congresses. Please prioritize your points of correction. Mr. Walberg.
Thank you. I think the leadership term is something we ought to take carefully. When a representative is sent to Washington, he or she is sent to represent. Now, in that capacity, the only leadership ability they have comes from the government and from the governed who sent them to Washington. So that mandates that a representative begin first by developing a relationship and a partnership with his constituency so the strength of character and resolve is there, because it will be tested. Once the representative of the people understands that there is a strong support behind him or her to do the job, then it involves making sure that you have compadres, comrades, partners in Washington to join alongside with. I know that I have those there already. I know Michelle Bachmann and Mike Pence and people like that who are resolved to take back this country for constitutional principles. And so we join together an economy of strength, not just as an individual. If you ever become an individual, ultimately you become marginalized. And finally, you commit yourself to a set of characteristics, convictions, and projects that you can accomplish if you give enough time to it. That is the only way to impact what has gone on and changed our way of life to a way of not freedom, but bondage.
Thank you. Mr. Rooney.
I moved to Michigan for a job, and that job was to work at a constitutional law firm up the road here called the Thomas More Law Center, and we fought for religious freedom, rights of conscience, First Amendment, free speech rights, national security issues. And one of the things that was distressing about a lot of the congressmen and women that we would ultimately sue to stop some of the legislation that passed is that it was clearly unconstitutional. Part of the health care bill regarding the mandate, saying that the Commerce Clause allows Congress to mandate people buy insurance or be taxed essentially if they don't, is clearly, in my mind, unconstitutional. So you have to have people that have an understanding of what the four corners of the Constitution are all about. And my work at the Thomas More Law Center in that constitutional frame gives me a good frame of reference every time I look at a bill. The first thing I'm going to ask myself is, does this fit squarely within the Constitution? Do I have the authority to even craft this bill? I think a lot of times Democrats don't even think about the Constitution. They say it's an impediment to get over, to try to figure out ways around, where Republicans of good conscience should be saying, should we even pass this bill? Do we have the authority to do so? And so I would use the real world experience I got at the Thomas More Law Center to craft any legislation or be part of any legislation I'd be part of, and then I try to stop any that I see would be clearly unconstitutional, and I would be willing to be a plaintiff in any case that I saw that was unconstitutional, try to overturn it.
Thank you. Mr. Carlson.
We have to go back to the foundation of our Constitution and understand that it was written to protect our unalienable rights, bequeathed to us by God, and it is our birthright. We are a nation of law, constituted to ensure life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We are a nation of opportunity, but we cannot and should not guarantee outcomes. We look to government as a protector of individual liberty, to defend the pursuit of our own individual interests. But we cannot look to government for a check or special privilege to secure that individual well-being. That's why we must begin untangling the large entitlement programs which we cannot afford and make so many of our citizens dependent and consigned to perpetual underclass status. Rather than cradle-to-grave security, we must have cradle-to-grave opportunity, where we make our own way without robbing our neighbors in the form of burdensome taxes to pay for our lethargy or indifference to work. The common theme here is the necessity to return to self-reliance and individual responsibility. We must move away from the economically and morally unsustainable dependence on big government.
Thank you.